Hey guys, my name is JC, and in today's gameplay video we have a look at Yeva, Nature's Herald, and see just how much of a difference giving mono green flash makes. If you end up enjoying this deck, pay a visit to the channel where we'll have a deck tech discussing all of the included cards as well as the overall strategy. But without further ado, let's get to the game. So looking at our opening hand, this is pretty much ideal. We've got 3 lands, which is definitely enough for this deck to start off with. We have turn 1 ramp into turn 3 ramp with Selvala. Endurance for a little bit of interaction with the graveyard, and then a Shire is definitely going to help us accelerate mana. Possibly get into a combo if we draw the pieces later, so we'll definitely keep on this one. And it looks like our opponents are Gisa and Geralf, Kydele and Kodama, and Geist of Saint Traft. Geist plays a land, and that's their turn. We draw a Heroic Intervention, really good card, which will definitely be more useful in the mid to late game, so we'll start by playing our land and getting down our mana dork. And that's going to be our turn. Gisa plays a tapped land, and that's going to be their turn. Kodama plays a land, and that's it for them. Geist plays their second land for turn, and now they start by casting a Soul Ring, really great, especially this early in the game. Now do they have a follow-up play? And they do with Angel of Vitality. A 2/2 flyer, if you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead, and it gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life, which is definitely the case at the moment. So it comes down as a 4/4. Pretty good turn 2 for the Geist player, and that's it for them. We draw Nykthos, which is very, very good to have, but I'm not going to show that ace in the hole just yet. I think we'll just start by getting down our forest, and we'll get down our Selvala, and we're just going to leave the turn there. Now the only downside of playing that Selvala is we may get hit in the face with that Angel. Gisa plays a tap land. Unless of course the Kodama player plays something a little more scary or sets up their board a little bit more than us, but I doubt it. And that's it for the Gisa player. Kodama plays a Gaia's Cradle, well that's a pretty good land, but unfortunately it's not tapping for anything at the moment. And I think the Kodama player may have tried to have tapped their Gaia's Cradle then, not realizing it doesn't actually tap for any mana without any creatures out. So it looks like they may have to leave the turn there. Don't worry, we've all been there before, making mistakes with our lands like that. And that's it for them. Geist plays their land, and notably an island, so now they have enough mana to cast their commander if they want to do that this turn. And they do. So now they move to combat. Let's see if our prediction was right. And it is, they're swinging in with the Angel. We can't do anything about that, we're going to have to take it. Because while we certainly could flash in Endurance here, being a 3/4 isn't going to take it out, and I don't want to waste that card, certainly not on that card. And it looks like that's it for their turn. We draw a Jiraga Tree Speaker. So we'll start by playing our land. And like every Yeva player that has come before me, we're just going to pass the turn here and leave our mana up. So we can flash our commander in, and hopefully also get our Jiraga Tree Speaker onto the battlefield as well. Gisa plays their land, and now they cast a Death Baron. Skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. So it looks like we may have a tribal deck in our midst, but otherwise that's it for the Gisa player. Kodama plays another land for turn, and it looks like they're leaving their turn there once again. They may have interaction in their hands, specifically a counter spell, but it may also be that the Gaia's Cradle's just holding them back a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see. So the Geist player casts a Godfarer's Statue. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast, and at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. Well, I think this is definitely the time to get our commander in play. So we'll start by activating Selvala, and we'll attempt to cast our commander. Let's just hope the Kodama player doesn't want to counter it here if they do have the interaction in their hand. I'm sure if they do have the counter, they're going to try to get rid of Godfarer's Statue. And then now we'll also flash in our Jiraga Tree Speaker. And it looks like the Pharaoh's Statue resolves. So I think the Gisa and Kodama player are going to have eyes on the Geist player because they're going to be slowing their game plan down. So at least we may have some temporary allies to take care of them. Okay, so they move to combat now. And I dare say we're going to get hit again. No, but this time they're actually swinging both creatures at the Gisa player. That triggers their Geist of Saint Traft, so that when it attacks it makes a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking, but then it exiles at end of combat. And that token is coming in at us. We can't block it, so we'll have to take it. The Gisa player is blocking with their Death Baron. So fortunately for us, that does take out their commander. Their Angel exiles at end of combat. And now they move to their end step, Godfarer's Statue triggers, and we all lose 1 life. Well, all of us except for the Geist player. Well, it looks like we are going to untap with our board. And we draw into a Glade Muse. That's a really good card to see, so we have card draw online now as well. Now when we play Nykthos down here, our devotion is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to be able to tap 2 into it and essentially net 3 mana. So already you can see just some of the power of Nykthos, but hopefully we can start to get it tap in for more. So we'll start by playing our land. We will level up our Tree Speaker here. So now it can tap for 2 green mana. Then we're going to move to combat. We definitely have to start getting some damage in on the Geist player, so we'll go over their way. Damage does go through. And then we're just going to pass the turn here. Gisa plays a land. And it looks like they're just leaving the turn there. So they may be concerned with our board state, and that's why they're leaving their mana up, because they want to interact with us. Kodama plays a tapped land. Temple of Mystery, so they're able to scry 1. And it looks like they're passing the turn there, so I don't know. It seems like this guy's Cradle may have screwed them over a little bit, but you really can't be sure. The Geist player begins by recasting their commander. Now they move to combat, but it looks like they decide to pass through combat, so they may feel they need blockers up, and they cast a Contentious Plan. They proliferate and draw a card, and now they move to their end step. Godpharaoh statue triggers, so this is our time to start casting some things. So I think we'll start by activating Selvala. We'll add 4 mana with her ability. Then we'll tap Nykthos, leaving us with 8 mana. And now we're just going to get our Shire into play. That will trigger our Selvala to draw us a card because it's the biggest creature on the battlefield. And we draw an Earthcraft. That's really great. And we'll let the turn move to ours. And we draw a Quest for Renewal. Well, that's really, really great. That's basically our mini Seedborn Muse for the deck. So now we're going to be able to cast spells on each of our opponent's turns. Now the thing is, we will be playing these spells into 2 players with open blue mana. The Godpharaoh statue is going to stop them from being able to efficiently counter our spells, but at the very least the Gisa player would probably be able to counter one of our things. So the real question is, what do we want to be able to be countered if it's going to happen? Is it going to be Earthcraft or Quest for Renewal? And at the moment I actually think I value Quest for Renewal more, so I'm going to start by casting our Earthcraft. And that goes through straight away. So now we'll try to get down our Quest for Renewal. That also goes through, thankfully. Now we're going to move to combat. We'll send a Shire over at the Geist player, and Yeva at the Gisa player. That triggers Quest for Renewal twice, putting 2 counters on it, but we need 4 counters to be able to get it to untap our creatures, each player's untap step. Damage goes through. Then in our second main phase, we're just going to tap our Jiraga Tree Speaker, triggering Quest for Renewal again, and now we'll also tap Selvala. So now we have the 4 counters on Quest for Renewal, and we're just going to pass the turn there. We untap with the Gisa player. They play a land for turn, and they cast a Midnight Reaper. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. And that's it for their turn. Kodama plays a land for turn, but they are just passing the turn there. Geist player plays another land for turn, and now they start by casting Sworn Companions, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink, and now they move to combat. So it looks like the Angels come in our way, Geist is going over at the Kodama player, and the tokens come in our way. So we will just take the damage. We could flash in Endurance, but I don't think we need to just yet. We go down to 22. Geist triggers and the token gets exiled. And now on the end step, Godpharaoh statue triggers. So I think we will aim to get our Glade Muse down here. And now we'll start by casting Glade Muse. And there's no need to get Endurance down just yet, so I think we'll just let the rest of the mana fizzle and let the Godpharaoh statue trigger. So we're down to 21, and we'll move to our turn. We draw a Priest of Titania for turn. Well, that is good. It is a creature, so it is going to trigger our Glade Muse when we cast it on somebody else's turn. So I think we'll just move to combat to start off with. We'll send a Shire and our commander at the Geist player. It looks like they're just taking the damage here, so they go down to 13. They must have a player with those tokens, because I couldn't see why they wouldn't at least block a Shire with that. But otherwise, I think we're just going to leave the turn there. Gisa plays a land. And now they cast a Gravedigger. When it ETBs, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Which at the moment, the Death Baron's the only thing in their graveyard. So it looks like that's what they'll be going for. And it looks like they pass through combat and they're leaving the turn there. So it looks like the Kodama player does have a response on their end step. And now they are casting a Nature's Claim, but they're targeting the Godpharaoh statue, thankfully. And not our Quest for Renewal. Well, I can understand that because it's probably holding them back quite a bit, especially with both their commanders. They're not super cheap. That will also draw them a card. But otherwise, it looks like we're going to the Kodama player's turn. They play a land for turn. And now they start off with an Elvish Visionary. When it ETBs, draw a card. We're happy to see that because our Priest of Titania actually adds green mana for each elf on the battlefield. It doesn't care whether it's our opponents or not. So that's going to add an extra green to it when we untap with Priest. And it looks like that's it for them. So I'm currently feeling pretty good. The only player that really has been threatened has been the Geist player. And I feel like now we have Endurance as a blocker and we have some card draw online as well as a lot of mana. We should be able to take care of him provided nothing scary comes down this turn. So it looks like they move straight to combat. And so it looks like the Angel's coming at us, the Geist is going at Kodama again, and the Angel token's coming at us. So I think this is the point where we start to interact. So we'll start by casting our Priest of Titania. That triggers our Glade Muse. And we draw a Great Oak Guardian. That's actually a great card to have. Now we'll flash in our Endurance. And we draw an Ulvenwald Tracker. That's even better, so we can start fighting any problematic creatures that come down. Now when Endurance does ETB, I'm not actually going to target the Geist player because I don't want them getting the Godpharaoh statue back. So I'll just choose us for the trigger. Now I'll flash in our Ulvenwald Tracker, which will trigger Glade Muse again and draw us another card. And we get Kodama of the East Tree. That's a great card to have, especially because now we can actually use it as a proper blocker to take out the flying creature. Now we're going to tap Nykthos and add an amount of green equal to our devotion. So now we go from 2 to 15 green mana. We'll start by casting Kodama. That triggers Glade Muse. We draw a Growing Rites of Itlamok. Great card, but at the moment mana definitely isn't our problem. But I am going to hold on to the Great Oak Guardian here, so unfortunately all that beautiful mana is going to have to fizzle. So we'll have Kodama block the 4/4 token, and our Endurance block in the Small Angel. And this is one of the things I really love about Yeva, is just that ability to flash in blockers that people just don't see coming. So now we take both of those creatures out, we don't take any damage. And that's it for their turn. And we draw a Shaman of the Forgotten Ways. Well, that certainly is one of our finishers. So if we can hold on to this board state, which having Heroic Intervention in our hand gives me a bit of hope, I think we can close the game out by the time it gets back to our next turn. So to start, we will get the Growing Rites of Itlamok down, because it's going to allow us to tap for a lot more mana, and it'll also help us look at the top of our library to hopefully find another creature card. Kodama and Growing Rites of Itlamok triggers, so we'll do Growing Rites of Itlamok first, in case we can cheat that card into play. So we have a Team of Sabertooth, a Reclamation Sage, and a Llanowar Tribe. All quite good cards. The Llanowar Tribe I don't think we need at the moment. The Team of Sabertooth is actually really good. With the amount of mana we have at the moment, I think we can actually close the game out here. Now we do have 2 players open with blue mana, so it may stop us, but I think we've got to go for it anyway. So we'll take the Team of Sabertooth. We'll just pass on our Kodama trigger. So we'll firstly move to combat. We'll send a Shire at the Kodama player. We'll send Kodama at the Geist player. And we'll also send our Commander at the Kodama player. Okay, so it looks like the Kodama player is responding here. And they cast an Aetherize. So that will trigger Glade Muse to draw him a card, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. So it's lucky we didn't go through the Team of Sabertooth Great Oak Guardian line, because that would have screwed us over pretty badly. So we'll let them draw their card first. It's not going to matter, they are tapped out. So all we'll do in response to that is tap down our Endurance for a green mana. Then we'll activate Selvala, so we can add mana based on our bigger Shire's power. So we're going to add 14 mana, and then we'll allow that to go through. Now we'll start by recasting our Commander. And we actually draw a card off of that because Yeva is the biggest creature on the battlefield at the moment. And we draw a Forest. Now we'll get back down Kodama. That also draws us a card off Selvala. So I don't know if our opponent realised, but they might have actually helped us a little bit more than they hurt us there by helping us to draw more cards. We have a Well-Wisher, which is really great. That's going to help restock our life total back up. So short of a board wipe at the moment, I think our opponents are in a little bit of trouble. Now we'll tap Jiraga Tree Speaker. We'll get back down a Shire, which should draw us a card again. It also triggers Kodama. So we'll put Selvala on the stack first so we can draw the card. We draw a Turn Timber Symbiosis. And in this particular case, I think we'll just put the land down for Kodama's trigger. Then we will pass through our phase there. Now, just in case the Geist player does have something to do on our end step here, I don't want to get greedy and go and cast the Turn Timber Symbiosis, even though I'm tempted to. So I think we will just pass there and give ourselves a chance to respond to anything if we need to, because we can get Team of Sabertooth down and bounce any key things back to our hand if a board wipe does happen. Our Growing Rites of Itlamok triggers. So now it flips over into the beautiful Itlamok Cradle of the Sun, which is going to tap for green for each creature we control, which is currently 4, 8, 9, 10. Gisa plays a land, and now they cast a Mikaeus the Unhallowed. It's got Intimidate, and whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. Mikaeus is usually a combo piece, but I think it is just zombie tribal with what they've got going on at the moment. So we're okay for that to come down. And that's it for their turn. Kodama plays a Field of the Dead for turn. Can be a scary card, but it might be a little too late at the moment unless they get something down here. Well, they do cast a Time Warp. Target player takes an extra turn. So I think in response to that, we can at least take them off their Gaia's Cradle mana by taking out their Elvish Visionary. So we'll get a Shire to fight the Elvish Visionary, and we'll tap the 2 green for that. So the Elvish Visionary dies, but I think we can let them go to their turn. I can't imagine at the moment what they'd have that'd send us back. A Cyclonic Rift certainly wouldn't work now, thanks to a Shire. And that's it for their first turn, so now we move into their extra turn. They play a Maze of Ith for turn. Now they start by casting a Sylvan Ranger. When it ETBs, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it to your hand, then shuffle. We're okay with that. It is an elf as well, so that also helps Priest of Titania to tap for a little bit more mana. Not that it's really significant at the moment with all the mana we've got, but it's just an important point to note. And now they cast a Reclamation Sage. Well, now that is interesting because it's most likely going to be targeting our Quest for Renewal. So we'll allow that to ETB at least first, just to make sure that is the target it's going for. No, they're actually targeting the Earthcraft, which we're completely fine to see. They probably should have targeted the Quest for Renewal there, unless they're fearful of something else. I mean, Earthcraft's a great card. I'm not going to lie about that. So look, truth be told, I'm just going to let that through. That's not something to worry about, and I don't want to waste a heroic intervention on it. So they do move to the end step here, so I think we're going to take out the Geist, so we don't have to take any damage in the air, even though we do have a blocker there. So we'll get our Elvenwild Trucker, get him onto the fight plan, starting up Fight Club, so we'll choose our Shire. Oh, that's right, Geist can't be targeted, so we won't do that. Then what we will do is we'll fight the Mikaeus, just because it is a good blocker and it does recur their creatures. So we take Mikaeus out. That does draw him a card and lose them alive with Midnight Reaper. And now I'd like to get down our Well-Wisher. So we'll cast our Well-Wisher and get that down. That triggers Glade Muse, we draw a card. It's a Song of the Dryads. And it looks like the Geist player's seen enough, they've scooped, so I think that they know it's over here, and we have another player scoop in as well. The Kodama player's out of the game. We can't put a permanent into place, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Gisa player does call it here. So I think we can just leave it here, now that it's going to go straight to our turn, and just swing out for the damage and win. So I don't think we have to screw around too much here. We're just going to tap our Nykthos. We'll cast our Great Oak Guardian. That buffs all our creatures up. Kodama triggers. We'll put a Song of the Dryads into play. And we'll put it on the Midnight Reaper. So now they have one less creature to block. Then we'll just cast our Team of Sabertooth. We'll put our Quirion Ranger into play. Now we'll tap Itlamok for each creature we control, which puts us back up to 21 mana. We'll use Team of Sabertooth's ability. We'll bounce Great Oak Guardian back to our hand. We'll recast it one more time. We'll just put our Shaman of Forgotten Ways into play. Now we'll move to combat. And we'll just send everything in. And that's it for the game. Well, let's go to the wrap-up and discuss what happened. So this game couldn't have gone much better for us. Firstly, we started off with a strong opening hand containing a lot of ramp, and then after that, all we needed to really do to get ahead of the game was draw into a card advantage piece, which we did. Secondly, we didn't encounter any board wipes or single target removal, which meant that we were able to push far ahead of our opponents in mana and card advantage. Whether it's Yeva or most other mono green decks, if you don't act quickly to take out at least some of their value creatures, it doesn't take long for them to get out of control. With that said, the value we were generating, in combination with our ability at instant speed to react to any plays our opponents made, meant that we were able to develop a board state that took home the game. Unfortunately for the Gisa player, they just had too slow a start for what was happening on the board and needed more time to set themselves up. Kodama decks are notorious for being able to go off as soon as they land Kodama, but unfortunately the Kodama player never quite got there. Either the Gaia's Cradle play messed with their tempo when they played it, or the board state simply prevented them from playing what they had in hand. The Geist player had a strong early game and did begin to apply some good combat damage board pressure, but because of the value we were generating, they needed help from the other players to be able to contain us, which they never got. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's game and got to see just how much of a difference granting a mono green deck flash makes. Until next time, guys.